Hello. I have an idea for what Inferno's moveset in the Celestials video game could look like. Yeah, let's begin. Okay, so first of all, you have to remember that the Celestials video game is very similar to Marvel Rivals. So if you need to use your imagination a bit for what this would look like in game, just think about Marvel Rivals, but a bit more on a bigger map and with more movement. So, basically Inferno, as a playable character in Celestials Eden of Elements, aka CEE, which is the name of the Celestials video game for now, that I had in mind. His playstyle would basically be that he's a fast flying character that uses his sword, and basically you dash up to other enemies and you would start slicing at them and going crazy and pretty much chaining your attacks on one or multiple people. And if this situation got a little too much, that your health would start dropping, you'd be able to pull up a shield and basically like protect yourself, give yourself health back, and maybe dash away and shoot fireballs at the enemy team to get away until you're healed a bit and then return afterwards. And if that isn't necessary, you can just kill them with your chainable attacks and just keep going, healing yourself and then going to the next enemies. So, Inferno has a very complicated moveset that I came up with because I wanted him to be able to do a lot of things because he's one of the most versatile characters in Celestials that I came up with. And I specifically catered his moveset design to appeal to myself because Inferno is my favorite character. After all, that's why I made him the main character of Celestials. And I really thought like I would give him moves that I would like, and I like very fast, dashy characters that use swords. And so his moveset, like I said, is very complicated, but I sort of trimmed it down into like this package, so it's a bit more streamlined, but it's I'm gonna have a big gonna have big trouble explaining all of it because there's a lot of mechanics. So maybe I'll start off with explaining everything pretty simply, and you'll have to give me a minute to go over everything. So you won't be able to see it in the time lapse yet, probably. If you can't, just use your imagination for now. But at the end, you'll also see Inferno highlighted in white stripes. So you could see like where he would be on the screen. But for now, if it's not on screen, just use your imagination. So, in the drawing that you'll maybe see at the end of the time lapse, I basically used this background that kind of looks similar to what an in-game map in the Celestials game would look like. Wait, I'll just say CEE for now. So you kind of see like this background that looks like the map in CEE. And then basically in the middle, kind of to the left, you would see Inferno as a playable character in third person running with a crosshair. Then on the bottom you would see his HP, which is 150, which is like slightly above average in CEE. And then to the left you would see his profile like icon with his team ups next to it. And then to the right you see he has his ultimates. He has a rage meter and he has his attacks. So, if I start on the right part of the screen with his attacks, I'll go over them by the correct order. So, first of all, if you can see them in the time lapse at least, you'll see this dash. This like flying boot icon. That's his dash attack. So pretty much Inferno can sort of like start up his rocket boots, and then he can fly a little bit into the air, but he can also just like dash. He can also like fly around on the ground, and so basically this just increases his movement speed. And now instead of regular running, he kind of moves around like roller skating. So it's a bit more like a race car. And he can actually do this for a pretty long while whenever he activates it, and it runs out of fuel after a while, and then you can recharge it and reuse it. And so after that we have his shield attack, and so Inferno can basically pull up a shield at any time, and it actually doesn't have a very long cooldown at all unless wait, what was the condition again? Yes. If it takes like a maximum amount of damage, it breaks like momentarily, and then it gets a bit of a lengthier cooldown. But if you're just trying to pull it up, you can do it as many times as you'd like. Unless it gets broken because of an enemy, you can just pull it up whenever you like. So then after, and so his shield attack basically blocks knockbacks. It it reflects projectiles. Whenever the shield gets damaged, he gets health, and he can also pull up the shield when he's. Wait, I'll explain it later. My bad. Inferno's whole thing actually is that when he's using his dash attack, he can either. So when he's using his dash mode, where he like increases his movement speed by flying, he can press his sword basic attack to basically slice at enemies in like a dash, and he can do 5 of these dashes by default. And if he chains it to another person, he can do 5 of them again, and he can like keep chaining it to multiple enemies. But he can only do like 5 on one enemy, and then he has to like maybe like. His attack gets like slower for a second, and then he can do 5 of them again, 5 of the slices. And so he just slices like a dash, like I said, and he goes right through them. And on the first one, you go through them, like I mentioned. Then if there's no enemy in front of you to chain it to, you slice back to your first enemy, you slice backwards into him, then you go slice kind of like to the left and then to the right. And this is like per enemy. This is under the condition that you don't find any other enemies. Otherwise, you just slice to the next one and to the next one. And then also he can pull up a shield when he's in his dash mode to basically do like the same dash, but now he bashes with a shield. So he can do this 5 times as well. But I'm not sure if he would be able to chain it on enemies, but because maybe this would be more for like moving around and charging into an enemy rather than like chaining it. So maybe he would have like 5 shield bashes. And he would still keep his shield ability afterwards or something, or maybe it would get a short cooldown. And if he hits an enemy with this, he bashes into them, he drags them with the shield in front, and then he knocks them back. So pretty cool. That was actually a really important part about his kit. I forgot to mention that until now. My bad. And then he has his rage mode. His rage mode, the more damage he does, the more his rage mode charges up. And when the bar is fully filled, he enters his rage mode, and basically he becomes faster, his attacks become faster, he does more damage, and his cooldowns are lower for his attacks. And he also gets buffs to his attacks. So maybe this is a bit overpowered, but like I said, I wanted him to be able to do a lot of things. And I had to cram everything down into his kit. So now, if he's in rage mode, his fireball attack now gets replaced with a fire beam that maybe goes through walls a little bit, through like thin walls, and does a lot of damage. And goes through enemies as well. His basic sword attack now, on the third slice, it is now like a Beyblade spin that does more damage, and also around him. His shield attack now becomes, he can still use the shield, but now if he holds his shield button, or he like double taps it or something, he basically jumps up and like charges like this giant fireball up that kind of works like a bomb, and when he throws it at the ground or in the air, it explodes. So kind of like the supernova like star that he throws. And then in his dash mode, if he slices, now when he's in rage mode, he doesn't just go through his enemies on the first slice. He now sort of like uppercuts them with his sword, so he like slices them upwards. And then if he aims it correctly, he can follow it up with like sort of like this pirouette attack, where basically he now that his enemies are sliced into the air, he can follow it up with like an attack where he now like jumps into them with his sword face first, and then he like smashes them back onto the ground with his sword. Oh yeah, real quick, go to the link in the description to support me on Patreon. Thanks, man. Sorry. And so after his shield attack, you have the special attack that you can maybe see on screen. It is basically Inferno gets this roster of elemental attacks because he can also use the other elements a little bit, unlike most other characters. And so basically he gets 5 elements that rotate after each other in a course. And they all replace this, take up this one attack slot, and he can only use one at a time. So it rotates every time he uses one of the attacks. So he has 5 elements, and it starts out with nature. And then he can use the attack for this element that he has available at the moment. And if he, it was something in the sense of like if he hits someone with it, he can chain it to the next elemental attack. So it's really cool to chain multiple of these attacks after each other. If he hits someone with it. And so his first attack is a nature attack. He basically grows a giant vine from his left arm, and then he can use it as like a grappling hook to hook people towards him. He can also hook it onto a wall, so he moves towards the wall, and he can also pick up items with his vine arm and push buttons and stuff with it. So pretty cool. And then after that he has an earth attack where he slams the ground. Similar to the thing from Marvel Rivals, you have to remember a lot of these things you can compare to Marvel Rivals to use your imagination. So he has this attack that the thing in the Marvel Rivals also has, where he slams the ground with his fist, and then the ground turns into like boulders, and everyone around him gets knocked back, and maybe he gets a little bit of health as, for himself. Then wait, I just need a second to use my brain because this is getting very complicated very fast. After his earth attack, he has a water attack where basically he I need to think for a second. What did he do again? I can't say too much. My bad. After his earth attack, he has a water attack where, if I remember correctly, he slices with his sword, and the sword now has like water on it instead of like a fire effect, and basically he makes like this water slash in the air, well, like in front of him, and over the further it goes, if it like reaches enough distance, it turns into ice. And then it like freezes the people in the slash, and otherwise it's just like a water slash, and maybe it like knocks them back a bit. And also the further the slash goes, the more it spreads, kind of like a shotgun effect. Then after that he has a light attack where basically the fire on his body kind of gets like this golden like light effect. He basically lights himself up with like light powers, and then he himself gets healed. The people in a close area around him get healed as well. And now his sword is like powered up with light. So now if he hits a demonic character with a sword, it deals a lot of extra damage. And after his light attack, he has his last elemental one, that's a magic attack. He basically does that thing that Naruto or something can do, where like he can make clones of himself to confuse people. So basically, if he's near an enemy, he can trigger his magic attack, and then he subtly gets teleported to one of his clones that he spawns all around the enemy, and the clones probably would start attacking like with his basic attack randomly, and then you're like the imposter in like the group. That sounded a little bit sussy, but whatever. And so yeah, so those are his 5 elemental attacks. And his elemental attacks also get like super powered now that he's in rage mode. And basically his vine attack, so his nature attack, where he uses his vine arm, is now like Winter Soldier's ultimate. So from Marvel Rivals, so he jumps up now, and now he uses his vine arm to slam down on people in an area on the ground, or on people flying in the air or something. His earth attack, now he grabs a giant rock out of the floor and quickly throws it in front of him when he's aiming, and the rock like collapses onto people super hard. And so now his water attack, what was his water attack? Now he has like a Frost Knight similar attack. His water attack is now that he charges up like a frost flake in his hands, and then he throws it onto the ground and like freezes everything and everyone in like a big radius around him, like it becomes like this blizzard. His light attack is basically the same, but now if he hits a demonic character or like a darkness character with his light sword attack, it insta-kills, and then his magic attack basically now becomes the spell that I mentioned in a previous video. I mentioned this thing where Noah Coriolis, the magic guy from the main cast, can teach spells to other characters and like domain expansions kind of. Well, Inferno's domain expansion basically becomes his magic attack now, which is he gets like a bigger, like his sword becomes big now again, and basically he traps enemies in like a line in front of him in between like two firewalls, and then he basically slices them with his sword, and it would do a lot of damage. And I'm thinking if there was anything else about this kit. In rage mode, no, so that's his rage mode, and then after that you have his basic attack, his sword attack. So his sword attack is pretty basic. You do like 3 slashes, and the third one is like a cooler one that does more damage. And it has like soft lock-on, kind of like Iron Fist in Marvel Rivals. He can lock onto enemies from a distance, but not like with like outrageous aim assist. It's just like a soft lock-on. And then once he's closer up, maybe he has to aim a little bit more. And last of all, he also has a fireball attack where he gets to shoot fireballs. Yeah, he just shoots 5 fireballs, and it works like ammo, so it recharges over time. I'm also thinking his fireballs have a bit of a lengthier cooldown to reload all 5 of them, and if he holds the button to shoot his fireballs, he can sort of like jump in the air to shoot them instead. So like depending on the direction he's running into, maybe he like jumps up to the right of himself, and then he throws his 5 fireballs at once if he holds the power button. And if he walks backwards while he holds his fireball button, he basically does a backflip and throws all 5 of his fireballs at the same time, and if he runs forwards, he just throws all 5 of them at the same time without anything special. Okay, then also you'll notice he has this like meter next to his fireballs, if you can see it in the time-lapse. That's his rage meter. I'll also discuss that in a second, but first of all, his ultimates. In CEE, you would actually have 2 ultimates per character, and you can choose basically one of them every time. So you like start the match, and you basically have to, like with your controller, you have to choose one ultimate at the beginning of the match, and then you can't change until the next one, until you use it, and you have to choose again. And so he has 2 ultimates. His first one is the one you can see on screen right now, I hope at least, but that's the one I drew in the drawing. It's basically one where he goes Super Saiyan, he like fires himself up, and it's oh wait, yeah, it's like a Psylocke's ultimate from Marvel Rivals. It's like that one. So like he like shouts, oh wait. Sorry, I got interrupted here for a second. So, like I was saying, his ultimate works like the one from Psylocke from Marvel Rivals. So he like shouts, he fires himself up while he's like floating in the air. He basically goes Super Saiyan, and then he just starts slicing super fast everywhere. But it's not like in a specific area necessarily. It's just as long as like he has enemies around him, he just like slices to them directly, and he can just keep chaining it as long as he has enemies to hit. So it's like a chainable ultimate, which I really like the idea of, and it's not like necessarily constricted to one like circle around him like Psylocke's ultimate. But his second ultimate is like basically like a super sword slash. So what he does is he like shouts again. So like you hear him like scream. Well, scream sounds girly. I mean like you hear him like do a man scream kind of, and he like powers himself up again. But now you'll see his with a second ultimate. His sword gets like really epic instead. His sword gets like these spikes on it and stuff like on the sides, and gets like super powered. And then he does this giant Beyblade spin, and his sword becomes like a giant, the blade of it, and so it slices super hard around him, and does a lot of damage. And then at the end of the Beyblade spin, he how do you say it? He extends his sword in front of him, and again the blade is like massive now. Massive, you want to know what it now? My bad. Low deep no. So the blade afterwards gets sent in front of him, kind of like those, I don't know what you call in English, but like those people with those fancy pin swords where you like use it in front of you to like bedazzle your opponent. So he does that. So he does a giant Beyblade spin, and then he slices directly in front of him by like pushing the sword in front of him. And it would probably insta-kill or whatever, or just deal a lot of damage, so I think it's pretty cool. And after that, the ultimate would be immediately over, but maybe he would keep his rage mode or something. My bad, I had a burp. Okay, and then for his team-ups, he has 3 team-ups. So he has one with Frost Knight, that's the one I put on screen as well in the drawing. So he has one with Frost Knight, where basically Frost Knight, when he has a team up, and when you have a team up in CE, you can basically see your highlighted team up buddy in like, you can see them like highlighted in purple with like a purple little icon on them. And then you would have to like push a button when you're near each other to like do your team up attack or something. And so his team up with Frost Knight is basically, he jumps on Frost Knight's back. Frost Knight starts ice skating upwards. He like creates ice underneath him, and he like ice skates upwards into the air. Then, wait, how would it work? Yeah, he jumps off the ice rail. And Frost Knight would release like this giant ice blizzard that freezes everything, and all the enemies are on the ground around him. And then Inferno would jump off his back, and he would immediately follow up the giant freeze area with a giant explosion on the area. So basically you would freeze your enemies, and then immediately after that you would basically just Allah Akbar them. So I think that's a pretty cool idea. Then his second team up with Air Force is one that's basically kind of like, what was the name that I came up with again? Two Punch Man instead of One Punch Man. So the idea is Air Force and Inferno can both throw super hard punches, because the Inferno can he can rocket boost his arms with fire, right? And Air Force can like rocket boost himself with like the air that he pushes out of his muscles, if you remember. So both of them can do like can throw super hard and fast punches, but Inferno just prefers to use his sword. So what if there's a team up where they both just use their fists, and you have to kind of like coordinate where you'll both go stand to the side of like an enemy. So one goes on the left, one goes on the right, and then if you hit, you would maybe see like a marker on the ground that you're like lined up to do the attack or something. Like I said, it would all be highlighted, so it's obvious enough, so you'll notice that you can like do the attack or something, or to set up for it. And then basically, if you're in the correct position, you can both push your team up button at the same time to basically like do this super hard propelling punch where you both like fly towards the enemy. So one goes from the left, one goes from the right. And you basically both punch him in the skull, like in the jaws, so hard that like his you like insta kill the enemy that you teamed up on, and you basically like shatter his whole like face into two, like his whole skull into two like separate pieces because of the punch. So I think that's really cool to just insta kill like an enemy by both just punching his face. like One Punch Man style. And then his last team up for Inferno is one with a character I haven't made a video on yet. So it's like a lava creature, basically. He's like a hero. And he like vomits lava and stuff. And he can like shoot it out of his head because his head is like a volcano. And so the team up would be something in the sense of like Inferno. The lava creature would like spray a bunch of lava on Inferno, and so he would get powered up with the lava. And then, wait, how did it work again? Yeah, Inferno does this whole Super Saiyan thing again, kind of like with his ultimate. So he like charges up again, he like shouts or like grunts again. But now instead of doing his ultimate, he just explodes like kind of like a sun flare. He just explodes like just Allah Akbar. And after the explosion, it leaves like this really deadly like lava rain in a big area that's like spreads. So I think that's pretty cool. Wait, this video is actually getting really long. I'm starting to notice. I'm gonna have to shorten things up a bit. I'll try my best to explain everything pretty fast now. I wanted to mention also Inferno. Oh wait, how did I not say this before? Also, he has a passive ability where, like, if he's flying around with his dash mode, he leaves a fire trail, and if he makes a circle with it, it does like this big fire beam upwards. Also, people that he uses fire attacks on get set on fire and maybe do a little bit of lingering damage that can be extinguished with water or something. And then he also has a debuff, which is basically that Inferno can be dismantled more easily. So dismantle is like an attack that some characters would have, where you basically get rid of an enemy's weapons. And Inferno is more susceptible to this. When he gets hit with a dismantle attack, or he also can be dismantled with a, with a freeze. He can also be dismantled with knockback, and he can also be dismantled with stuns, but he can counter knockbacks with a shield. And when he gets dismantled, he instead... he loses his sword and his shield for a short duration, but instead he gets some Wish.com version attacks of his normal ones. And so basically his basic sword attack now gets replaced with a attack where he puts his hand in front of him, and he basically just shoots like a flame of fire into his enemy's face. His elemental attacks now get replaced with a soul bond attack, where basically he charges up a fire rip, he hits someone with the fire rip, and he tangles them in it, and then he dashes towards the whipped person. He like goes straight to them. His shield attack gets replaced with a soul attack, like a soul, a possession attack basically. He drops his body that's made out of armor on the floor, and his fire ghost jumps right out onto an enemy and sets him on fire for a bit until he returns to the armor. And the armor can't be attacked when it's on the ground. And his dash mode gets replaced with a basically a kick. So he kicks in front of him and he knocks back anyone who gets hit with the kick, but he can only do like one kick or something. So he becomes more limited, but this is only like this isn't like a major debuff. You don't like get pulled out of your momentum that much, but it's a good counter, I think, to make it a bit more fair. But you can't be dismantled while in rage mode, and I think rage mode also exits your dismantle if you get it while you're dismantled. On top of that, I'm thinking if there's anything else I had to mention about Inferno. Oh yeah, you have to remember in CEE, the Basekit stuff would also be there. That's a bit different than Marvel Rivals. For example, by base, most characters would have 3 jumps. You would be able to build kind of like Fortnite building, but just you would be able to build wooden ramps onto the ground off of ledges and create wooden walls to kind of block enemy attacks. You would be able to wall run, and also he would be able to, this is not like a Basekit thing, well it is, but it's more like specific to Inferno. If he slices with his sword while he's in the air, he like slices downwards onto the ground, and if he uses a shield attack in the air or something, maybe like his shield bash, he maybe bashes onto the ground. And also generally his attacks can be aimed into the air, or when he's in the air he can do them onto the ground as well. And I'm thinking if there's anything else I had to mention. I think that's everything for the most part. Oh yeah, I forgot almost. After he gets his dismantled, if his dismantle disables, his sword, because it's like linked to his soul, if you remember, comes back like a boomerang, and he hits people with it like a boomerang that are in front of him when he like calls it back to his hand. Also, Inferno has finisher moves, which is like default in CE. When a character is very low on health and you're like close enough, they get highlighted in red, and you can basically like hit L3 and R3 to kind of like in Doom Eternal, you basically latch onto them and you like do a finisher move, but now it's in third person, and so Inferno would have like a bunch of multiple like different animations. I'm also thinking his attacks would have a lot more in-depth like stats and niches in his actual like in-game kit, but I tried to explain it more like summarized now because it's already very complicated moveset. By default, characters in CE run a lot faster than in Marvel Rivals. In Marvel Rivals, you kind of like walk slowly, but here you would just kind of run at regular speed. Also, I'm thinking if there's anything else. Nope, I think that's everything for Inferno's kit. Yeah, I think I mentioned everything. Also, you should right now, I think in the timelapse, be able to see him on screen. So you'll see the whole UI on screen, kind of like what it would look like in-game, and then you see his crosshair, and then I kind of, well, I didn't draw Inferno, but because that's too much work now, but I drew his outline of kind of where he would be. You can see he's like holding a sword. I mean, I hope you can see in the timelapse. And yeah, I think that's everything. So I explained it very complicatedly, but to summarize again, Inferno is a character that can go into dash mode. He can slice his enemies up with a chain sword attack. He can use his shield to recover and to bash enemies. He has his elemental. He has one elemental attack at a time that he can chain if he hits someone with it, and then he gets gets moved to it gets replaced with the next elemental attack. He can shoot fireballs, and when he enters his rage mode, all his attacks get a buff and become more variated. He has two ultimates to choose from, one where he goes Super Saiyan and hits everyone super hard with like a chainable sword slash, and then he has one where he basically does a giant sword Beyblade spin with a finishing, with like an insta-kill hit in front of him afterwards. He has three team-ups, one with Frost Knight where they basically freeze everyone and blow them up, one with Air Force where they both at the same time punch an enemy to insta-kill, one with a lava creature where Inferno gets charged up with his lava, explodes and leaves lava rain, and you also have to imagine while you're playing the game, you would even like attack a little bit in the air because you can jump 3 times, you can build ramps and wooden walls, you can wall run, so and you can also use your attacks in the air and like on the ground, so there would be a lot of cool movements going on. So yeah, I think that's everything I had to say about him. I love this moveset that I made. I just wish I could explain it a bit more easily, and I'll probably make like a part 2 or maybe or something where I like show you some skin IDs and for Inferno in the game, and yeah, that's everything. So that was everything. I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I did, and I'll try my best to explain the kits a little bit more simply the next time, but this was a really complicated one, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!